Hi, dear listeners. This episode of the podcast is definitely a different one. First of all, I will come up with a series of interviews in the context of identity and purpose, so you get a closer look and a real life feeling into this topic. Secondly, this starts with a double interview with my dear coaching colleague Karo. So let me introduce her to you. Karo is a coach and trainer working with women and teams on the mission to bring more humanity and potential development into the workplace. She offers purpose coaching for women and helps them to get unstuck out of their heads and beyond perfectionism into messy yet meaningful action. She deeply believes that our world is a brighter place when every person lives aligned to who they truly are and what they truly value, instead of fixed concepts brought to us by society. Her dream is to create safer places for compassionate personal growth, for more purpose, alignment, and inner freedom.
Okay. Hallo und herzlich willkommen zu einer neuen Folge von Chaos im Kopf. This one is going to be in English, so now you will enjoy my German-ish accent. I hope you can understand, because this one on many levels, it's a very special episode. First of all, I have an amazing interview partner, Peter Schlatt, who's a purpose expert who I really value as a person. I'm going to say one more sentence soon. Second of all, it's an experiment. So we're going to do a double interview completely live where I'm going to interview him, he's going to interview me, and we will just see how it goes. And third of all, I have a little bit of a cold. So I cannot promise you if my voice and my mental clarity will last all the way through the interview, but we will just give it a go because I was so excited for this interview. I love spending time with Peter, so I didn't want to postpone. So, Chaos im Kopf, it's my podcast. It's supposed to be a podcast that's a little bit different than a regular coaching podcast. And I just really want to open up the space here to talk about our inner chaos. That everyone knows how to deal with our inner chaos because we never learn in school how to deal with our thoughts and our emotions. And it drives me crazy that we never learn this. So this is kind of my contribution as a coach, where I want to give back and where I want to shed some light to our inner chaos and hopefully help you on your journey with it. And Peter, he's a very special person to me because I met him in YLab, which is a startup that is focused on offering spaces to discover your purpose. He himself, he's a wonderful purpose expert. He has a super interesting journey behind where he found his purpose and now he wants to share it with others. And he just really resonated with me. You know, sometimes you meet a person online, the energy is the same, you really like this person, you connect, and Peter was one of them. And I'm super grateful that you are now here in my podcast. Welcome, Peter. Introduce yourself in your own words, please.
Yeah, Karo, thanks for having me, and great that we can be a little messy here with the interview. I think that's a nice challenge for us. Yeah, it's good to be here, and I'm really happy to be here and share a little bit about my personal experiences and how I'm trying to help others to basically do the same. And let me just say this. So I was a classical, high-performing corporate citizen, meaning being for 20 years in the corporate industry. And yeah, that was all good. And my life was good, at least from the outside. And it's not that I was unhappy for 20 years, but I came to a moment where I realized that my life is good, but to be very honest, what I did was not really based on my own decisions. And that's why I started a journey to uncover really what my own decisions would have been and how I can move forward in my life. And one big thing in between was basically the question of identity or purpose. And yeah, all that experiences combined with my knowledge as a coach, I'm offering right now to other persons that also feel a little lost and maybe have a chaos in the head, as you say. I like the title of your podcast a lot. And yeah, so that's a little bit about me, and probably we come to a little more in the end. And obviously, it would be interesting for the listeners to get a little bit knowledge about you. So maybe you can say why you are here today, why you have this podcast, and why you became a coach.
Thank you, Peter. I'm really grateful to also have this interview set up. It's really fun to be interviewed. I'm grateful for that. Yeah, I think many things you said resonate a lot with me. I feel like quite naturally, I really tried to fit in, to do everything right. I feel like I did all the right career choices. Everything felt very much how it should be. But it didn't feel how it should be. I didn't feel in my power. I didn't feel like I was living aligned to who I am. I had huge moral issues. It really drove me crazy that I was working, whether it was for companies or agencies or so forth. And I felt like I was giving so much of my soul, my energy. And it was bugging me that it was for the profit of someone else. And it was also harming our planet. I really have a problem with that. Because I completely see the freedom in our capitalistic system, but on the other hand side, I didn't feel free in it. I felt like I was being a part of it that was kind of used, and I really noticed that this is not aligned with how I think, what I value, what I'm good at, how I want to contribute in this world. And it was actually out of a lot of pain that I just didn't feel right. It looked like I was right. It looked like I was in the right job, the right city. Everything looked right from the outside, but I didn't feel right. And I am very much in touch with my emotions, so I cannot press them down. I was feeling every day that it's not right how I'm living currently. So it really made me reflect on, okay, so what is it that is not right for me? And it opened up this huge world of, for me, how I would define purpose is rediscovering who I am, what I value, what I'm good at, and also living aligned with that. And I really noticed that working on your purpose for me felt a little bit like learning to study English or math, because it's just exercises you need to do, you never do. It's really getting to know yourself and then really accepting these things about yourself and then really owning them and being proud of them. And then also taking the choices aligned to them. And the more you do that, the more stuff is evolving in a direction that it's actually serving you, that you have these feelings of, oh my God, this feels right. I feel in my power right now. This is what I want to do. And of course, there was a lot of inner chaos that I'm still confronting every day now. By becoming self-employed, because I also think that business, it's a huge mirror to yourself, and it really shows you which aspects you put into the shadow, which fears you put into the shadow, which stuff you didn't want to look at you put into the shadow of your psyche in a way. And with business, you really have to confront these things: how you see money, how you see serving, how you see maybe also business. There's so much you need to first get straight for yourself, because we've only learned these concepts and we might be in resistance to many of these concepts. But your business is a reflection of how you are doing in your inner process. And
it's like the mirror you have for yourself has dramatically become bigger in size whenever you run your own business, because all the internal things, they are just showing up every single day. And if you work, not even in large corporations, but if you have a classical job with many colleagues and so on, I had this impression you have a lot of distractions in a positive sense sometimes, but also it's not really washing to the surface what you can work on, right? And when you are on your own, you clearly see that something might just hold you back.
Yes, I totally agree. And I also think that that's why it's really important for me to talk a bit more honestly also about this whole topic of purpose, because I feel like there's a lot of toxic positivity also around this topic. Because finding your purpose or wanting to live more aligned with it, it doesn't mean that it feels good. It's often birthed out of a lot of pain you experience. It's often confronting painful experiences you haven't digested yet. It's also looking into the wounds you still carry from your childhood and trying to heal them. So for me, it's a super brave process. And I feel like there is a discrepancy in German, between how it sometimes can be presented, because on LinkedIn and so forth, you see people that are starting their own companies, startups, they become CEOs, and everything looks so sparkly and shiny. And this can put a lot of pressure on yourself and sometimes makes you lose touch with what you actually want to do, because many times purpose is more about rediscovering, besides all these shiny things the world wants me to do, I would actually like to be a teacher. I would actually like to work with kids. I would actually like to be a guitar player, for God's sake, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe, Peter, please, I'm super curious to hear, how would you define purpose, or what are your experiences in the journey towards finding more purpose and living more aligned with your purpose?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question. And I always say, when it comes to purpose, because it is such a big term in nowadays, big marketing term as well. So I always say, when your talents and passions meet the needs of the world, that is the area in which you're gonna uncover your purpose. And so it has for me two directions. And one thing is a very good understanding of your own personality and identity, going back to utilizing your strength and things like this. So you really have some self-inquiry work to do. That might not always be fun, but that's what you can, what brings you forward, because you understand your uniqueness. And once you have this uniqueness, and not thinking about jobs or whatsoever, but first of all, you stay a little bit abstract and personal. Once you have this kind of definition for yourself and feeling for yourself, then you can translate it into the world and think, okay, and in what context can I help others? Because if there's one underlying message always, no matter if we would interview, whomever on the street, it will always come back to, how can we contribute to someone else's well-being? And it can be selling ice cream. It can be, any activity has purpose if it fits to the personal experiences of the person, the values they have, and so on, right? So, and that's basically what I uncovered, basically, when I started leaving the corporate world behind me, because I had this strong sense of, the only thing I can do in this world is working in big corporation. So I was limiting myself a lot. I didn't think of anything else. I said, well, I worked in this big corporation, so my next job is going to be in another one, hoping that the next job, might give me something that I didn't get in the other corporation. But after some time, I understood, no, I need to dig in, getting to know myself, and then I could really translate it into a purpose. So this point, if you want, this space where the needs, or the support you can give to others, meets really your unique personal strength and what you can deliver to the world, this is a very exciting point. And then you can start exploring how you can bring that out there, and start trying things.
I really, really love this very, very simple kind of even metaphor, or like to break down what is something that is super important about purpose. It's actually, about being there for others, helping others, being part of this huge community of millions of people we live on this earth. Peter, from your coaching experience, when you have a client there and you've went through your own journey and now you want to guide someone else through their journey, what are common maybe obstacles or challenges, or also maybe mindsets you discover that you first need to shift, or that you need to work through with a client? Do you have common stepstones on the purpose journey where you notice that they are a bit struggling, and that maybe you need to first like break up a shell or an idea or belief?
Yeah, and I think, I in my coaching program, I have a package that's called getting to know yourself, and it has two parts. One part is that you enable yourself classically to know yourself, so also you can verbalize in terms of values or adjectives what describes you. But the other part is exactly this, because it goes into some core beliefs we carry. Because how can you wash out all the conditioning that you have, and really look at the leftovers of this cleaning process and say, yeah, this is actually truly me. So I always have a metaphor that I use for my development. So I kind of woke up in the corporate world after being there for 20 years. And I said, wow, this goes back such a long time. And I always describe it as a train. My parents, they prepared a perfect train for me, well-equipped train, there was money, there was actually also purpose for me as a 19, 20-year-old. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to study this and I work in a big corporation and this is awesome. So then I was on this train. And what does a train do? It goes in one direction and it goes. And actually, as a passenger, you can't stop the train. And so then I realized, well, stop, hold on. Did I ever really decide for myself to go on this train? No, not really. So I tried to jump off the train and rather walk or use a bicycle or whatsoever where I can stop, change direction at any point of time. And that's kind of, for me, what happens also to my clients. They need to understand that they have the power. Yeah, because many times they are a victim to this early conditioning where they have taken over values, taking over beliefs, and just by challenging them in, is that really your belief? Is that really your value? Or does it belong to someone else? Is it the value of your boss, your mother, your best friends, or whatsoever? And this is something very difficult for the clients to assess. But I experienced, when we do not only work in the cognitive world, but we also go down to the emotional body and we incorporate that in the coaching, this is like a compass for them that helps them a lot. Because if they can feel it, then it's real. And if they have a value that feels like an empty shell, then they're like, yeah, I cannot really connect to this in any way. So yeah, I might just have played a role. And so then they can take off that mask and understood it belonged to someone else. So this kind of conditioning is a very, very big thing. And I'd say the second thing is fear. Fear of what they will find along the way. And, I have clients coming to me that say, I kind of want to start this, but what if I find out something about me that I don't want to know? And what if I experience something about me that makes me, or that then I have to change my life, So they're already projecting this kind of fear. And that's also an interesting work with them to overcome it.
Yeah, and I think it's also completely natural, human. I think we are super fearful beings. It's also really important that we have fear. But when we never learn how to deal with fear, this fear can quickly overtake our life without us even wanting it. And now we don't live in a world anymore, thanks God, where we have dinosaurs walking around, crazy tigers on the street. So actually a lot of the fear we have, it's about so cognitive concepts and so much maybe just stuff in the thought world. And I really resonate with what you said, that the biggest distinction is to come from your head to your heart. Because I really noticed that we've been so conditioned to live in our head. And I really think I was in a coaching program, and the coaching instructor said that our head, it's a great advisor. It's really good at pointing out things we still need to do, organizing things, finding solutions for stuff, but it shouldn't be the decision making of your ship of your life. What should take the decisions is actually your heart, your feelings, your emotional body, your soul, however you want to call it. And when I'm in coachings with clients, I really notice that wanting to figure everything out cognitively before you actually start doing anything about it, I think it's one of the biggest challenges in the beginning. Because they kind of think that they first need to find out cognitively what exactly they want to do, where exactly they want to go, how exactly they want to live their life. And the irony is that no amount of data will ever be able to help you to tell you beforehand what direction you have to go, because it's kind of a process where you try out something and then you feel, how did it feel? How am I feeling right now? Do I feel in my power? Do I feel aligned? Does this feel good to me or not? Because if you do it that way, you would put a lot of time into a plan. You take a lot of time to execute it. And then when you finally execute it, when your mind thinks everything's perfect, you could wake up the next day and think, well, that was a failure. I really didn't like this new job or new direction I planned or perfectly crafted before.
Yeah.
And I think it's totally natural to approach it like that. And I feel that a lot of stuff on the purpose journey, it's highly counterintuitive. It's not how you would do it. And maybe this is also why working with a coach is so good, because I feel like you can get quickly trapped in some of your mind thoughts, your ideas of how things should be or should work out.
Yeah.
And it's not that easy when you've lived so long in your head to actually come down to your heart and to feel yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally hear you. And what comes into my mind is when we are in business and all the facts are not leading to anything, then we start to ask, so what does our gut feeling say? So when we are completely helpless, then we ask our body. So why are we not switching this and saying, we have so much intelligence in our body, and so why don't we start right away with it? Here is problem A. What does our gut feeling say about it? And try to utilize that intelligence first, and maybe later on we can put some data into it. So that always surprised me, because obviously we go to school, it's all cognitive. At what point in time of our life are we learning emotions? I kind of had to rediscover or relearn how to connect to my emotions and to allow myself to cry, or just to show some affection when I'm around people and someone says something beautiful, or when I see my dad, being around him and he is just touched by something and I can see little tears in his eyes, and then I also want to express this. In former times I was just kind of running away from this, and right now I'm going to him, I'm hugging him, and I'm also having tears in my eyes, and we share this moment, and you feel just, this is empowering, and this is why does our body have emotions? There is a reason behind it. Why can we cry? There is a reason behind it. So let us use the functions we have of our body, and not just and not just being static robots and try to say emotions are something bad or we don't need it. So this for me is really crucial, and is the key to unlock really a person, and gives them the number one criteria of finding their purpose, direction, identity, is to have this in balance. Use the mind. And the second thing came into my mind is, it's like going to a doctor. Some people go to a doctor and whatever the doctor says is always right. And I'm saying, sorry, you go to the doctor and what you get is one opinion. Obviously, that person had a lot of experiences in his area, but it's one opinion. So take that as one opinion and then move forward. And it's the same thing with your mind. Yeah, this is just one part of your body. Take it as one opinion. And then look around and find more opinions and then make a decision, So yeah, that's kind of what I also see. I want to bring it back to you at this point, Karo. So there was a reason why you are a purpose coach, and there's also a reason why you work with women particularly. So maybe you can loop us in with this, and then we move ahead.
So I guess what generally drives me to be in this whole area of purpose is because I really think that in a society where our common values by capitalism are a lot of stuff that has been presented to us, it's really important to actually dissect, okay, but what is actually giving me happiness? It's kind of like having this picture of, you need a house, you need a kid, you need this and that, a good job, then you'll be happy. Then you do all these things like you experience, Peter, and then you notice, well, it doesn't feel good to me though. And that's why I think actually taking the time to rediscover what are my true values, especially in a system which values might not lead me to the happiness I am longing for naturally as a human, because many times happiness is so much more about, as you said, connecting to people, connecting to yourself, and actually not about achieving so much you can post on Instagram or LinkedIn. It's more like an inner state of being. And the second thing why I really want to work with women on that is because I feel like I have a lot of, how can you say? I have a lot of pride when it's about knowing who I am and what I want to do in this world. And I really feel when I look at how men are supported to do what they want, to really believe in themselves through the structures they have, there is so much more cultural dialogue in actually giving a man the confidence that he can be whoever he wants to be, that he has everything already now that he needs, and that he can really trust in himself. And I'm still lacking these messages for women. There is still not enough cultural dialogue around also enforcing that the same is true for women as well. They have everything they need already. They are perfect the way they are. They don't have to change. They don't have to adapt. They just have to know who they are and then take conscious choices to align their life with it. And there comes a huge part of also connection between women in my work. I'm also hosting women's circles and moments where I really noticed that women have a huge worthiness wound. We have a huge worthiness wound, and it has been brought to us through many generations. When you think about how we live now as a woman, it's still very, very new. And currently, what is kind of expected from us, it's not just to have a good career, but also to do the household at the same time. So even though we now have this freedom to also be in the job world who we want to be, there is still kind of expected in many ways that we somehow still juggle everything we also juggled before. And it's still not equal. And it also still shows in the cultural dialogue. And for me, it's also important then to work with women when it's about setting boundaries, when it's about communicating with their partners that they can't do it all and won't do it all. And it's a lot of work where we still have to do the work also as women to shift as a society more into a society of equality and also of worthiness. Because in the end, I think it's really important that each one in our society feels worthy, that they feel like they are contributing as they are. And I guess it's just me wanting to help to step into this new version of society that I would like to see and that I would need as well. And I was very lucky through my coaching certificates, through my training certificates. I was in environments that were appreciative, encouraging, that gave me the tools I needed to work with myself. And now I really want to give it to as many women as possible. And I'm not excluding men, definitely not. I would also work with men. But it's just important for me that women also feel seen, that they have the space to connect with themselves, and that they get more cultural messages that they are as worthy and that they have everything they need as well as men.
Yeah, and you're right. The conditioning does not only go back to our childhood, but the conditioning took place maybe 100 or even 200 years ago. And there are some values that the society just carries on. And this is also the understanding on how the classical roles of male and female have been. And we just carry that without really knowing it. And yeah, I very much understand that this is, well, triggering you in a positive sense, that you're saying, wow, this is some energy, you know. And maybe that's something we can pick up on, because what I see in my clients is often that they have a lack of power. You know, they are in their situation in life and they just feel like, whoa, I'm out of options, or the options I have, I'm just not capable of doing. So they're kind of losing energy. And what do you think, or how do you observe that with your clients? Do they also have this kind of energy thing? And what are you uncovering with them when it comes to that?
Yes, I think self-trust is huge. It's basically coming back to the topic of self-trust and having to learn to self-trust again. And it also touches upon another aspect that is really important to me. It's also rediscovering how you want to work as a human and not just fit into the Schablone, we say in German, maybe it's pattern in English, that has been presented to you in the corporate world, the 9-to-5 job, when to take breaks, how to do meetings. For me, it's so much about actually like teaching them again that they can trust in what they feel. If, for example, in the morning, they don't feel ready to tackle any creative project, it is probably aligned with their biorhythm, and there is a huge feeling they feel this way, and it's no reason to beat themselves up about it. It's actually an invitation to get to know themselves better And then to trust that what their body is telling them and their mind is telling them, it's actually something that is worthy to listen to. And the same goes for fears or the signal of powerlessness. If someone actually says, I really feel like I have no energy, I really feel like nothing makes sense, I truly believe that there is a part of them that maybe has been wounded, that maybe has a belief system about this, that maybe had experiences in the past that gave them the learning, I cannot trust my agency. And this is more an invitation of actually reconnecting with these parts, reconnecting with these experiences, and actually then kind of cleaning up your inner chaos, right? And actually looking for, well, is that true? What does this part that has been hurt back then need right now to feel agency again? And then through little steps, getting back into this feeling of self-trust. And the moment you can trust yourself, the moment you can stand behind what you feel and you don't beat yourself up for it, it's rather an invitation to look what you need and what maybe you still needs to be healed, what wants to be seen, what maybe is not aligned with how you design your days, your weeks, how you work. And it's not easy because we never learn this in school. So it's really, really not natural to start to actually listen to your body, your mind, your soul, and then also to take actions aligned with it. And it's super scary because you don't know what will happen in the end. You don't know if you will find out about yourself that actually you are not meant to work in the job and my environment where you're currently in. And it's also this kind of uncertainty, I think, that our mind doesn't really like. And I think after a while, the more you trust yourself, your abilities, the more you are in touch with yourself, the more this uncertainty can also shift to a little bit of excitement about what could also happen. And this is for me a very good indicator that you're starting to trust yourself more, you're getting more into a purpose journey that is intuitive, that goes with the flow, that is less strict, like what do I need to do tomorrow to have more purpose? Because this is exactly how the mind would approach it, but it's more about actually reconnecting to also your body and your soul, how we said.
Yeah, because we're using words and identity, purpose, or whatsoever. They're all words describing it. But in the end, yeah, you're right. It's a reconnecting to ourselves. And I want to share at that point one thing that happened to me when I was in the corporate world, and it's about strength and weaknesses. And a classical thing in that environment is you have some strength, and also the feedback system is based on, yes, Peter, you are this and that and blah, blah, blah. And okay, so you feel empowered. But then, of course, it's always about how to bring yourself forward. And then it comes to weaknesses. And then based on even the system itself, your boss and so on, they're going to tell, well, and I can see you need to develop this and that and blah, blah, blah. And then they talk about weaknesses. And one thing for me as an example is, I have this tendency of being a people pleaser. And also my zodiac is Libra. So I always want to have things in harmony. So I'm harmony driven. But in the corporate context, I was told basically, yeah, you are harmony driven, like you want harmony. And I use this always as a good weakness to say so. But what it made with me as a consequence, I was like, oh yeah, I want too much harmony. So I gotta be tough. And then I translated this into, I need to be tough. I need to learn to be tough. And if that goes too extreme, I just end up to be a complete jerk, because first of all, I'm putting on a mask. Secondly, I'm putting on a mask that is somehow demonstrating aggression. Yeah. So be careful who you talk to. I need to be tough. And suddenly at one moment, looking back at this, I realized, what a nonsense, because it is a strength of me that I have this desire of harmony. And basically it qualifies me a lot, because I am acting always as a kind of a mediator. And I have the ability to bring people together, and I'm trying to find a common sense between different groups. And it's basically a strength, and I should have promoted and used it as a strength, and not telling myself every day that it was a weakness. So that's a tiny little example of how I think strength can be flipped into weaknesses. And, we are keeping this knowledge with us, and we are telling ourselves, this is what I'm not able of doing, and I need to work on this. So I really like this point of, there are no weaknesses, and it's not just a wording thing. but just the sequence of our strength is a different one from person to person. So if, I have this strength of harmony driven, okay, and maybe another person has this just further down on the list of strength. And that's just how we are characterized as persons. And that's why I believe sometimes those kind of systems in the corporate world can be toxic and just really switch your head, and you believe something about you that is simply not true.
I really, really hear you. And I really also hear the pain that I'm sure many people experience in the job world. And there is so much hiding parts of yourself. There's so much trying to fit into something that doesn't feel good, but somehow fitting in is so important that you value it more than actually being with you and what is important for you. What would you say, Peter? What would be some first steps you would invite anyone to do as kind of maybe the start of their purpose journey? Is there anything that you would tell someone as an inspiration, a tip, a thought?
Absolutely. There are two things. The one thing is, don't jump into action. So in the job world, it's classical. I'm unhappy, I search a new job. And I always say, don't do the job hopping. So action is good, but it needs to come out of a place of awareness, out of a place of clarity. And better first take a moment and get that clarity. Because so many times, and I guess some listeners will identify and nod their head now, we are switching jobs because we are hoping that our problems are solved. And then we end up at the same situation 2 weeks, 2 months, or 2 years in the job. It doesn't matter. But basically the pattern that we're running away from, it's just coming back again and again. So don't jump into actions, number one, unless you are in an extreme toxic environment. Okay. But assuming that we are in a situation that we can still handle for a month or two. And the second thing is building up trust. You mentioned trust before. And what I usually start doing is with very, very little steps. How can we build trust? Whatever comes out of our mouth that we say we want to do, that need to be reflected in actions. And this circle will give us trust. We say something that we want to do, and then we're going to do it. So that's why I usually talk with my clients about routines, like morning routines or daily habits, or, things they want to commit to. And it can be tiny, Today I take 10 minutes for a walk. Today I'm going to clean the garden. Today I'm going to pick up my daughter from school. Today, or whatsoever. Usually I really use it on a daily basis, something that is easy. But then you do it and you have this feeling of, yeah, I said something and I did it. Yeah. And this will add up, and then you can pick bigger things and bigger things. But it's actually a daily thing, And I'd say those are the very first two things. So first of all, calm down. Don't try to search your, the cure in actions and blind actions, and start working on trust, because that will build up. The more awareness you build over time, the stronger will be the things you would like to do, and the stronger is the trust in yourself that you actually will do it. And that basically enables you to get to a point of clarity, and off you go. Because from a moment, I always say, from a perspective of awareness, only good things can start. Only good things. So if everyone would just breathe for 3 times before saying something or acting something, the world would be different, right? That kind of philosophy behind it. So that's why I'm saying, yeah, don't take your time, don't rush into actions, and work on your trust. How about you?
Really still hearing all your answers, and they are like nachhallen in German. They're still vibrating in my body. Very, very nice, Peter. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, I think that's also the perfect kind of maybe question to end this interview, this double interview, because it's always good to get a little bit more practical and not just be in your head. And actually, to me, it's a lot about actually gathering information. I feel like in school, we've never really gathered informations about us. We always had to do exercises and had to have the same results or so forth, but we never really had these opportunities to actually gather information about us, about who we are, what's important for us, what we value, what we're good at. And there are a few tools you can easily do in the very beginning of your purpose journey to gather some more information. And number one, it's a challenge I really like to do in all my seminars, in my coaching, also in the free potential challenge I offer online. And it's very simple. You write a couple of friends, the more the merrier, and you just ask them, hi, I'm part of a coaching program. Can you please write me a couple of things that I'm good at and that you value about myself? Because the thing about strengths, and we never learn to own them, is that we neglect them. When something is easy for us, we don't really think it's a strength. We think, well, it comes easy to me. How is that a strength? For example, I am really, really good at like talking freely, at being a social person. And I never really understood it as a strength. But then I understood, well, I can name you at least 5 people who would hate it, who would hate to just talk freely, who would hate to be in social groups and stuff. So it is a strength, especially because it comes easily to us, but that's why it's often overlooked. And that's how the mirror of your friends has a super valuable first information point for you to really also see they value you for that. They see you, they see these things as strength, even though you might diminish them, even though you might not think listening actively is a strength, but it really, really is. And it also helps you to understand what jobs would naturally be easy for you, what jobs you can do naturally that wouldn't take a lot of energy from you because you're naturally good at them. They aligned with what naturally comes easy to you. And the second thing is I really love shadow and light work from psychology. And also in shadow and light work, you use other people as a mirror of yourself, because the only people we cannot see is ourselves. We can only look down at us and then maybe we will see some hands, but we only see ourselves through a mirror, whether it's looking into a physical mirror at home or whether it's looking into a mirror of other people. And a very great indicator to where your soul actually wants to go, which you might not allow yourself to even consider, is looking at your role models. Look what kind of people inspire you, what fascinate you, what are they doing, what exactly is it that makes you feel so drawn to them. And it's very likely actually an invitation for you of parts you might have not allowed to be there that want these things as well. Maybe they also want to have more voice in this world. Maybe they also want to do something in the area of mental health. Maybe they also want to be an ambassador for change. Maybe they also want to have their own coffee shop. It is stuff that you see in others, what you admire and inspire, which is the perfect reflection of what you actually would like to do if you wouldn't be out of touch or have diminished these parts of yourself because you thought, no, I'm not worthy. I will never be able to do that. It will be embarrassing to even think and try. And this is very valuable information. And the last thing I would like to say is give yourself time, because it's a journey, and part of this journey is that the journey is the journey. No, der Weg ist das Ziel. The journey is the goal. And it will take a lot of iterations. It will take time. And I think you can really harm yourself by putting this immense pressure on yourself that you want to wake up tomorrow knowing everything and having everything figured out. It's totally natural that it feels messy. It's totally natural that you feel overwhelmed. And when you don't feel good, it's actually a good sign that you listen to your feelings, you listen to your body, and you actually listen to the signals your soul gives you that you want to change something. So don't beat yourself up for not feeling good right now. Don't beat yourself up for not knowing where to go and for not knowing who you are, because we never had these learning experiences in school. It's not part of our system. So be super gentle with yourself and know that millions of people in this world are going through the same. I went through this process, Peter went through this process. And I think probably just when you look into your house where other people live, half of the house will go through this process at least once in their life. It's supernatural. It's nothing to be ashamed about. Yeah. It's rather very brave of you to actually listen to these things.
Yeah, beautiful. I just want to add, it's not about reaching your goal. It's about who you become on the way of reaching that goal. So that's how I put it, because that is the personal journey we are on. It never stops. Why would we say we are reaching a point and from now on, I'm going to freeze and I just be for the next 30 years exactly that person? Doesn't make sense. So it is about the journey. And it took me some time to really realize this, but that is the best way on how I can put it. And that is the personal adventure we are really on. And it is very exciting. And yeah, the ups and downs belong to it. And usually we're trying to push away the downs. But when we invite them, and still while we're feeling sad, we can say it's part of the process. I'm growing here. We're feeling grateful for it. And I guess that's all the power. And I want to end up with just one thing. If the people feel this kind of, you sense it, something is wrong. I'm a little bit off track. Why am I not motivated? So wherever you are and you don't really feel you're in your strength, you can just ask, what is maybe a truth about you, about your work, about your life that you have feared to speak out to yourself? And if you can start reflecting about this, then you're going to connect to something deeper. So what is the unsaid truth? And that might be just a tiny little starting point of uncovering, of lifting the first stone, and off you go. And there's something, and then you see those people that get addicted by it, right? The self-improvement crazy people around here, because yeah, it is addicting, because hey, by the way, all that work is just for me. How great is that? Yeah.
Oh, Peter, I really enjoy spending time with you. I really admire you as a person. I think it's super brave, the journey you took, how you listen to yourself, how you managed to decondition from 20 years of corporate numbness into really being in touch with your emotions and your dreams and your humanity. I would say I am in true gratitude. I am grateful for this interview with you. I hope you listener out there are also enjoying this format. It's a little bit of an experiment, so I'm really excited to hear from you. Feel free to send me an email at hello@karolingoldstein.com and reach out to me, because I really want to know how you liked it or not. Otherwise, I would love to end by inviting you to my potential challenge online. It's just 1 week where I have these free exercises for you to really gather more information about who you are and what you want to do. And also, I really want to speak out gratitude to Shuko. He allowed me to use this wonderful song, Nothing's Gonna Change, for my intro and outro song, and I'm truly grateful. And I would also love to invite you to reach out to Peter and get to know more about Peter and his work. Peter, how can someone work with you?
Yeah, so they can find obviously my profile on LinkedIn. So the full name is Peter Schlatt. They can find me on peterschlatt.com. There is a podcast that I call The Next You, and a lot of my work is called The Next You. And I basically offer three things. One thing is I offer workshops where people can get a little bit of inspiration about what a personal journey can be. The second thing is obviously an individual one-on-one coaching. But I only do this if there is a tiny little problem and it can be solved within amount of 1 to 3 coaching sessions. Because if people come with bigger roadblocks, then I rather try to work with them on a more profound basis. And that's then my coaching program, which I call The Next You, which is about, just getting rid of all the layers that we have on top of us and just peel out our true self and go into this evolutionary journey. And that's a 12-week coaching program. And yeah, I have some powerful experiences there with my clients. It's really great when they know their purpose and when it makes click. This is why, life was a training camp for me to do that. And that's just super, super empowering for them and for me as a coach, because that's why I love doing this. And yeah, so this is how people can reach me, and this is how I work with them.
Great. I really love the name Next You. I feel like I can still improve on my names. So if you want to work with me one-on-one, you can join my coaching program. It's called Spark. And it's also 3 months. And like Peter, I really think it takes time to go a bit deeper. to really get closer to what you want to do. I do see the financial hurdle for people. That's why I also offer a purpose starter kit, which is kind of more intense sessions where you gather a lot of information about you that shall give you some orientation, especially in the beginning. It's kind of like the start of your inner journey. And because many women are also struggling with actually getting out of their heads and out of perfectionism into the doing, I also have a program called Getting Unstuck. It's more for someone who already knows a goal and knows what they want to do, but they keep on self-sabotaging, they keep on not doing what they want to do. And then it's super valuable to actually look into the parts of yourself that might still be fearful, that might still have some unhealed wounds, and then to actually step by step get into the doing. All right, Peter, thank you so much for the time with you. It has been truly valuable. I really enjoyed the time with you. I really enjoyed the interview. I admire your work, and I'm just happy that we're part of the same coach tribe, and yeah, that you are here with me.
Yeah, same here, Karo. It's awesome to see your work and what you offer at different stages of awareness from your clients. And I think the women out there, and yes, also the men, but the ones you're offering your services to, they can be happy to have someone like you in guiding them powerfully to their life's purpose. Yeah, that's great. So good luck on that journey.
Good luck to you too, Peter. And now I wish everyone out there who's listening to this interview a wonderful day. I hope you feel connected, and I hope you could feel a bit this nice energy I now shared with Peter. Bye-bye.
Bye.